Is the gender of Spanish nouns causing you headache? I have some tips for you today that will help you with guessing the gender. Hello and welcome to another Spanish lesson with me, Eva. As promised, today I will help you guess the gender of Spanish nouns just by looking at them. What we will be looking at is basically the ending of the noun. Now you may have heard or maybe even figured it out that the majority of nouns ending in A or in Spanish are feminine, and that is mostly true. The majority of words, the majority of nouns ending with an A are indeed feminine. However, there are always exceptions, okay? So just as a disclaimer for today's lesson, what I tell you today is true in most cases. You will come across exceptions, but it will greatly help you with a vast majority of Spanish nouns. So I think it's worth learning these tricks, learning these endings, and then getting rid of headache. Hello and welcome to another Spanish lesson with me, Eva. As promised, today I will help you guess the gender of Spanish nouns. So even words you've never heard before, even words you have no idea what they mean, just by looking at them, or more precisely, looking at the ending of those words, you will be able to guess the gender of the noun in, I would say, 80–90% of the cases, because as always, there are exceptions, okay? But if there is a rule that helps you in 80–90% of the cases, I think it's worth knowing it, okay? Good. So we'll start with the typical endings for the masculine nouns. Then we will look at the typical endings for the feminine nouns. And then as a treat, at the very end, I will also tell you about some special cases when some, let's say, funny or strange things happen, okay? First, the masculine nouns. I would say maybe the most typical or the easiest ending to learn and remember as a masculine ending is the O, la letra O. So words, and again, I might say words, but what I really mean is just the nouns, okay? I'm not talking about other parts of speech, only about nouns, because nouns are the only words in Spanish that are either masculine or feminine, okay? There's other words that are neither, and some words will change depending on the noun they are describing, okay? So if they're describing a masculine noun, they will have a masculine ending. But if we use them to describe a feminine noun, if possible, they will change the ending to a feminine ending, okay? It's not always possible, but as I said earlier, some words can change their ending depending on which noun they are describing, a masculine one or a feminine one, okay? But nouns are the only words that already come with a gender, okay? So going back to the O ending, if you see a word ending in an O, it's going to be a masculine noun, okay? So a word ending in O, abrigo. Okay, abrigo is a coat or a winter jacket. Funnily enough, this polka dot polka dot dress is vestido. Un vestido, masculine noun, even though it's obviously something that women will wear. Okay, so again, it's safer to guess the gender by looking at the ending than it is trying to figure out, oh, surely a dress is something women wear. Surely a dress will be a feminine noun. Okay, no. The safest, the surest way is looking at the endings. And even that is not 100% true all the time. But as I said earlier, in most cases it is. So you learn these endings and they will help you a lot. Okay, good. So if a word ends in O, it's a masculine one. Abrigo, vestido, a car or a vehicle, vehículo. Okay, so a masculine noun if it ends with an O. There are masculine nouns that end in A, in A in Spanish, okay? There aren't very many, and mostly they are nouns which have been, let's say, imported from the Greek, from ancient Greek, okay? So for example, problema is a masculine noun, which means it will go with a masculine article. Un problema or el problema, okay? It does end with an A, but again, don't be tempted to consider it a feminine noun. It is a masculine noun. Un problema, clima, climate as well. Mapa. Okay, so all these nouns that have been imported from the Greek and they end with an A, they are still masculine. Okay, there aren't that many of them compared to all the nouns that end with an A and are feminine. Okay, think of them as exceptions to the rule, but just know there will be nouns ending with an A that are masculine. Okay, good. Okay, then we have nouns ending in age. Okay, and an example might be coraje, courage, coraje, traje, a suit, men's suit, or women as well, traje, a suit. Another group are nouns ending in ate, ete, ote. Okay, let's see. Ate, ete, ote. Okay, so an example of ate is tomate. Easy to understand, tomato. Ete, we're sticking with food. Filete is a steak. And bigote, bigote is a mustache. Okay, so nouns ending in ate, ete, ote, masculine. Tomate, filete, bigote. Okay, you will find a lot of nouns ending in R. Okay, R, r, and they will be most likely masculine. Okay, so for example, sabor is flavor or taste, flavor. Vigor, bigger. You recognize this word easily. Profesor, professor. Okay, so if a word ends with an R, it is most likely a masculine noun. Okay, good. Okay, another typical ending is an L. Okay, so for example, papel, paper, a sheet of paper, or cocktail. Okay, that word again was imported from English. Still, it's a masculine noun. Un cocktail. Okay, good. And finally, we have a group of words that end with an, en, in, on, un. But these vowels, final vowels, a, e, I, o, u, are accentuated, okay? So the word has the stress on that last syllable. It's something an, something en, something on. I'll write it here with the accent. An, en, in, on, and un. Okay? An, en, in, on, un. When they are accentuated, when they have the graphic accent mark, the tilde, these are Spanish nouns as well. So for example, I don't know, just a few examples. Capitán, bailarín, a ballet dancer, bailarín, balón is a balloon or a ball. Okay, so if they end with this accentuated syllable, an, en, in, on, un, they will be masculine nouns. And again, I'm going to say it one more time, just so there's no confusion. This is not always 100% true. There will be exceptions when maybe a noun with this ending will be feminine. Okay, so don't say, oh, Eva said if it ends in, I don't know, R, it's always masculine. No, there's a word that's feminine, a noun that's feminine. Una flor, a flower. It ends with an R, but it's feminine, okay? So again, in most cases, this is true, but expect to see some exceptions, okay? Good. Okay, so these were the endings or the typical endings for masculine nouns. As you continue to learn Spanish, and I hope you will, as you continue to learn Spanish and as you continue to hear and see and read words, and you learn more and more words, your vocabulary grows, you will develop, you will learn these tricks, okay? You won't have to come back to this lesson or your notes and look up these endings. You will instinctively know that a word that ends in aje, even though you've just heard it for the first time, is a masculine noun, okay? That, as always, comes with practice. Practice takes time, so don't expect to know this just yet or tomorrow, but do know that there are some typical endings to masculine nouns, and we are now going to have a look at some typical endings for the feminine nouns, okay? Good. Okay, let me... Okay, good. Okay, so as you know, the most typical ending for a feminine noun is an a, or in English, an a, okay? And you've seen some exceptions just now with the Greek words or Spanish words of Greek origin. They do end in a, and yet they are masculine. But still, because it is the most typical ending for feminine nouns, of course, I'm going to write it here. with just a few examples. For example, manzana is an apple. Corbata is a tie, and again, you might expect it to be a masculine noun because it's men who wear ties mostly, and yet it's a feminine noun. Why? Because we are talking grammatical gender, okay? And grammatical gender, unless the noun is the noun is a word that refers to a human being or an animal, and we already have our biological gender, all other things don't come with a biological gender, so we have to just assign one, okay? So don't look for any, it's just accept that it's random, okay? There's no reason why a dress, as you saw it earlier, should be a masculine noun and a tie should be a feminine noun, but it is that way, okay? So corbata, a tie is a feminine noun. I don't know, ensalada, salad, again, a feminine noun. They all end in A, okay? Good. Okay, let's move on to the next group. It's ia or ya. So ia with an accent, meaning that this E will be pronounced very clearly, ia, and ia with just a normal E, and then this E and A, or I and A, are kind of pronounced together, okay? So whether it's one or the other, again, it will be a feminine noun. So for example, the butcher's is carniceria, okay? You see this E with the tilde is pronounced very clearly, carniceria. In the next word, for the pharmacy, the E or the I doesn't have the tilde and it's much weaker, okay? So pharmacy in Spanish is farmacia, farmacia. We can hardly hear this E, no? It kind of, it's joined or overtaken by A, farmacia, farmacia. It's not farmacia, it's farmacia, okay? So whether we have a word ending with ia and tilde, or just ia and a normal E, normal I, it's a feminine noun. Carniceria, farmacia. Okay? Good. Okay, another typical one is ción with a C or ción with an S. Okay, so whether it's written with a C or an S, it doesn't matter. O will be, again, accentuated. It will have this graphic accent mark, the tilde, and some examples are communication. So in Spanish, comunicación with a C, and commission with an S. Comisión with an S, okay? Comunicación and comisión, okay? In both cases, the O has the accent mark, okay? Good. Another typical ending or endings are dad, and tud. Okay, so think of the D maybe. Dad, tud. So dad, debilidad, Debilidad is a weakness. Tad, libertad, liberty or freedom. And tud is multitude is a crowd of people. Okay, so we have dad, tad, tud. Okay, again, feminine nouns. Okay, and finally, the last group will be nouns ending in is, es, and esa. Okay, so here in this group what they had in common was the D, and here what they have in common is the Z. Okay, so some examples. An actress is una actriz. Una actriz. Old age in Spanish is vejez. La vejez. And esa, pereza is laziness. Okay? Pereza. Again, the letter to remember here is the Z or Z. Okay? Good. Okay, so these were some typical endings for the feminine nouns. And again, I'm sure if you were to dig deep or study, do a big research, you would come up with some exceptions to these rules, maybe not all of them, but just remember, if I give you rules, most likely there's going to be some exception, but this should really help you a lot when it comes to guessing the gender of the noun, okay? Because you will not always have a dictionary at hand when you speak, especially. You will just have to speak. And if you can sort of learn these things from obviously practice, it will then come naturally to you to just without thinking know that these nouns are feminine and the ones before are masculine. And as I said earlier and in previous lessons, and I'm sure it will come up in future lessons again, the gender of the noun is not just for the sake of knowing the gender of the noun and maybe which article to use with it, whether it's un or una or el or la, and same in plural. It also affects all the words that describe this noun. All the words that we use to describe these nouns, they will, when possible, because sometimes it's not possible, but when possible, and oftentimes it is possible, these words, these descriptive words, will also have to change whether and have a different ending for masculine nouns and a different ending for feminine nouns. Okay, so it's not just about the noun. This is obviously the starting point. You need to know the gender of the noun in order to tweak all those words around it that describe it. Okay, good. Okay, so as I promised, I said I would give you some, mention some special cases in the end. And there are, let's say, 3 groups of nouns which behave slightly differently, okay? So I'll, again, get rid of this and tell you about those 3 groups. Okay. Okay, so the first group are nouns, and here we are mostly talking professions, okay? Traditionally, I would guess in all around the world, and also in Spain, traditionally men were the ones who had jobs, who would go and do the work outside the house and come home in the evening, and women would stay at home. So jobs, or the words for jobs, were of course traditionally masculine. Okay, things have changed. Luckily, women have jobs as well, and now the words sometimes, not always, but some words for some jobs do reflect that there's also women doing that job. How will they reflect it? Only by changing the article. The noun itself, the word itself, will not change. It still remains the same. The ending doesn't change. But when we use the masculine article, we know we are talking about a man performing that job. But if we use a feminine article, then we know we are talking about a woman doing the same job. Okay? Even though the word as such, the noun, does not change, it's the article that we use that tells us if this noun, in this case, is masculine, grammatically speaking masculine, or we are using it as a feminine noun. So for example, I don't know, estudiante. Okay, estudiante maybe is not a paid job, but again, traditionally it was men who were who were studying at universities, and estudiante can be both un estudiante or el estudiante, in which case this is a masculine noun because we are talking about a man, a male student. But if we use it for a female student, then the article will be una or la. And again, if we now want to describe this student, okay, a good student, let's say we just want to say a good student. If we are talking about a man, okay, a young man, we will say un estudiante bueno, okay? He's a good student. I don't know, George es un estudiante bueno. He's a good student, okay? But if we are talking about a young lady, a woman studying or being a student, and she's a good student, then we will say ella, she, es una estudiante buena. Okay? So this word can be both. It doesn't change. The ending doesn't change. It's still the same word, but it can be both masculine if we use it for men, or feminine if we use it for women, or if we use it for boys and girls. Okay? And depending on whether it's masculine or feminine, the article will be different, and other words describing it will also have to reflect the gender, okay? When they can. Sometimes they can't, and they're the same for men and women, or for masculine and feminine nouns, okay? Good. So that's just one example. The same thing would happen with médico, okay? A doctor. Un médico, a male doctor. Una médico, a female doctor, okay? Or cantante, a singer. Cantante, same thing. El cantante, la cantante, okay? Good. Okay, so this first group, it was the exact same word, but we could use it as a masculine or a feminine noun, okay? So that's the first group. The second group is kind of the same thing, but the meaning changes. So we will have a noun which could be either feminine or masculine, just like here, but the meaning of the noun will change. It will not be the same. Here we are still talking about students, okay? Un estudiante is a male student and una estudiante is a female student, okay? They're both doctors and they're both singers, okay? Un cantante and una cantante, they're both singers. In this group, we will have a word which sometimes means one thing when it's masculine, but when it's feminine, it means something completely different, okay? So here the meaning will change. For example, el capital is the capital, the money that you invest when you start a new business, a new venture, and the money that you invest, that you put down, is the capital, or el capital, okay? So that's the money. And it's very different from la capital, which is the capital city of a country, okay? Or a province or a region, okay? So el capital, money, and la capital is a city, the capital city of an area, okay? Of a country or a region. Again, the word is exactly the same, but when it's masculine, it means one thing, money, and when it's feminine, it means something completely different, okay? Same here. El cura is a priest. El cura is a priest, a Catholic priest, and it's very different from la cura, which is the cure for an illness or a treatment, okay? So same word, when it's masculine, it means one thing, a Catholic priest, and when it's feminine, it means something different, a cure or a treatment, okay? Good. And the last group, here we will see the ending of the noun change slightly, but at least we will stay within the same sort of what we would call in linguistics the same semantic field, meaning that the meaning will still be more or less sort of from the same field, no? So just an example. El naranjo, masculine, with this ending, is an orange tree. But when you make it feminine and change the ending, la naranja, it's the fruit, an orange, okay? So if it's masculine and it has a different ending, it's the tree. And if it's feminine with the a ending, it's the fruit of that tree, okay? El naranjo, the orange tree. La naranja, the fruit, the orange, okay? A similar one. And so we haven't completely changed the meaning by changing the gender as it happened here. Okay, so here a different gender was a completely different meaning. Here it's not. The only thing that does happen here is the ending changes accordingly. Okay, another example is el bolso, which is a lady's handbag, and la bolsa, which is the shopping bag, the plastic or paper or recyclable, it doesn't matter, but it's the shopping bag, okay? So, el bolso, a lady's handbag, and la bolsa is the shopping bag. Okay, again, we're kind of talking about not the same thing but similar thing. They're both objects that we carry and store things in them. One is smaller and mostly it's used by women. La bolsa is the shopping bag. So again, we are kind of still, we are not changing the meaning drastically, okay, as we did here. Okay, good. Okay, so these were just these special cases that you will come across. I'm sure more examples, but just so that you see how creative the Spanish is, and it's not always easy to know if it's masculine or feminine, because sometimes it could be both with the same meaning, with a very different meaning, or with a slightly different meaning and a different ending as well. Okay? Anyway, the idea is not for you to learn this by heart. Have it written down as a reference, and when you learn new words, you will notice that these endings do actually hold true in most cases. Okay? Good luck with your grammatical gender, and I will see you again in the next lesson. Bye-bye.